प्रातस्मरामि हृदि संस्फुरदात्मतत्त्वम् सच्चित् सुखं परमहंस गतिं तुरीयम् यत् स्वप्नजागरसुषुप्तमवेति नित्यम् तद्ब्रह्म निष्कलमहं न च भूतसङ्गः। तपोभिक्षीणपापानां शान्तानां वीतरागिणां मुमुक्षूणामपेक्षोऽयम् आत्मबोधो विधीयते। बोधोऽन्यसाधनेभ्यो हि साक्षान्मोक्षैकसाधनम् पाकस्य वर्तिवज्ञानम् विना मोक्षो न सिद्ध्यति। अविरोधितया कर्म नाविद्यां विनिवर्तयेत् विद्या विद्यां निहन्त्येव तेजस्तिमिरसङ्घवत् परिच्छिन्न इव ज्ञानात् तन्नाशे सति केवलः। स्वयं प्रकाशते ह्यात्मा मेघाकायेषुमानिव। अज्ञानकलुषं जीवम् ज्ञानाभ्यासाद् विनिर्मलम् कृत्वा ज्ञानं स्वयं नश्येत् जलं कतकरेणुवत्। संसारस्वप्नतुल्यो हि रागद्वेषादिसङ्कुलः स्वकाले सत्यवद्भाति प्रबोधे सत्यसद्भवेत्। तावत् सत्यं जगद्भाति शुक्तिकारजतं यथा। यावन्न ज्ञायते ब्रह्म सर्वाधिष्ठानमद्वयम् उपादानेऽखिलाधारे जगन्ति परमेश्वरे। सर्गस्थितिलयान्यान्ति बुद्बुदानीव वारिणि। सच्चिदात्मन्यनुस्यूते नित्ये विष्णौ प्रकल्पिताः व्यक्तयो विविधाः सर्वा हाटके कटकादिवत्। यथाकाशो हृषीकेशो नानोपाधिगतो विभुः तद्भेदाद्भिन्नवद्भाति तन्नाशे केवलो भवेत्.
The term Vedanta literally means end of Vedas. End of Vedas refers to the Upanishad, and this is the direct meaning of the word Vedanta. But we can even understand the term Vedanta from another angle. Veda means also knowledge, and Anta means the end, culmination. So the culmination of all knowledges is Vedanta. Culmination means there is the absolute summation beyond which there is nothing more to be known. In fact, in the Mundaka Upanishad, when the student approaches the master, he is only asking the question in this way, that teach me that by which, having known which, everything else is known. That means, having known that, you need not know anything else. That is the culmination of all knowledge. Now, what is that knowledge? Any other knowledge of the world doesn't fit into this definition. There is no end of any knowledge. You take any worldly knowledge, mathematics or science or astronomy or space, anything for that matter, you can keep on gaining more and more, and still we will be ignorant. But this is a different kind of knowledge, not any other type of knowledge. When we say not even the knowledge of practice, which is going to come a couple of verses later as we study here. What is the end of Vedas? That itself is not known. So even the scriptures and other things, there is sort of no end to it. It will go on and on. But here it is a different kind of knowledge, that it is talking about a internal realization. The closest example that can come is that the knowledge of the waking state vis-a-vis all other knowledges of the dream, it is a different kind of knowledge. The knowledge of waking up is totally a different perspective altogether than all the knowledges that you can learn within the dream as a dreamer, as a person inside the dream. So, this knowledge is what is essentially Atma Bodha. Atma Bodha must be understood as that which is the ultimate knowledge of the awakening. If you have this background, we will be able to understand the second verse, which says, knowledge alone is the direct means for liberation. In fact, the first topic that we are talking, first 5 verses, the topic's title is only that. It is knowledge of self which awakens the person, awakens the mankind. So we will chant verse 2.
बोधोऽन्य साधनेभ्यो हि साक्षान्मोक्षैकसाधनम् पाकस्य बह्निवज्ञानम् विना मोक्षो न सिद्ध्यति.
Of all spiritual disciplines, knowledge of self is verily the direct means for liberation, as fire for cooking. Liberation cannot be attained without knowledge of self. 2 times it is given for double emphasis that it is knowledge alone that is going to liberate you, nothing else. We recently studied the Bhajagovindam. There also a verse comes that Jnana vihina sarvamatena muktim na bhajati janmashatena. You can do various practices, but if for liberation it is not possible even after 100 lives, 100 janmas, without knowledge, jnana vihina, without knowledge it is not possible. Now what is that ultimate realization? What is that final state of Brahman, or the state of being there? There are various schools of thought which portray that, or which explain that in a different way. Some may say going to Vaikunta and having the darshan of the Lord. Some may say it is going there and serving the Lord, being part of Him. Some may say Kailasha, various other things that may say. So that ultimate state may be explained by different people in different form, but what all of them concur is that that is ultimate knowledge. Awareness of, let's say, Vishnu. Here Vishnu is the reality in Vaikunta. Awareness of Lord Shiva. Awareness of the self. That is that awareness which is the internal realization is talked about as the knowledge. In Upanishads it is very clearly said that not by pravachan that can be attained. When we say pravachan, it includes study, everything about that, writing, pravachana, studying. That means it is not the gaining of the bookish knowledge that is being talked about there. It's very clear. So here the knowledge represents what is known as that awareness, that internal realization, that awakening or opening up. Now, at various places, various other practices are eulogized, are given very high value. So suppose in the context of, let's say there was recently Kumbh Mela. So they will say you take dip in Ganga, that will lead you to moksha. You read only Vishnu Sahasranama, that will lead you to moksha. Or you visit only Shabarimala, that will lead you to moksha. Or in some places you are born, some places you are dead, Kashi, like that and all. They say various sort of practices, and they will say that lead you to moksha. What you must understand is that everywhere all these things prepares you, makes you conducive, and ultimately it is that realization that is going to open up. So all these things are not condemned, but they are not direct means. So in each and every case, when you study this also, you put an insertion and say jnana dwara. All this will purify your heart and it will make you conducive, and then through jnana you will attain realization. So this must be always kept in mind, that it is through direct liberation is possible only through knowledge. The example that is given in this verses, fire is the direct means for cooking. Now, for cooking, you need to have a lot of preparation before that. You need to buy the vegetable, you need to wash the rice, cut the vegetable, sieve it, various, peel the skin, everything is there. But all this cannot be said as cooking. Cooking is when you put everything inside the pot and light the fire. That is cooking. The point of comparison here is that all the other preparations like karma, like bhakti, the jnana yoga that we do here, meditation, various other, up to that, every practice is nothing but preparation. Now, is the cooking possible without that preparation? That is also not possible. In other words, you buy a vegetable and directly put it in fire, that is not going to come out nicely. It is not how it should be done. You have to prepare it nicely, make it small, make it clean, everything before that, and then only cooking is complete, or it is possible. But cutting is not cooking. Exactly like that, an individual needs to prepare himself by various practices, by purification of heart, by karma yoga, by bhakti yoga, jnana yoga. Only such a matured individual can the fire of knowledge will enlighten him. So that is one point. Second is, all the preparations are done, all the activities are done before cooking. After you put it in the pot and the cooking is being done, what is it that you need to do? Nothing. That's all. Exactly like that. All the activities, all the sadhana, everything is before realization. Post realization, post awakening, nothing means nothing needs to be done. Nothing needs to be done at all. It's all over. Therefore, knowledge of the self alone is the only way. All other practices must be understood as supplementary or complementary to gaining this knowledge of the self. Now, why is knowledge of the self alone the only way? Why not all other actions can give us realization, take us to liberation? This is answered in verse 3. Here, of all spiritual disciplines, knowledge of self is the direct means for liberation, as fire for cooking. Liberation cannot be attained without knowledge of self. We'll chant verse 3.
अविरोधितया कर्म नाविद्यां विनिवर्तयेत् विद्या विद्यां निहन्त्येव तेजस्विनिरसंभवात्.
Action cannot destroy ignorance, as it is not opposed to ignorance. Knowledge alone destroys ignorance, as light destroys deep darkness. As we have been saying from the beginning, Atma Bodha is a direct knowledge of the self. And you will find that in almost all the verses, or rather many of the verses, you will find brilliant examples. He is talking about the ultimate knowledge of the self, and he is giving practical examples to make us understand. But unlike a text like Bhajagovindam, it does not come down to the level of how we can practically apply. Of course, for us, we have to understand at our level. That is why, as we study Atma Bodha from time to time, always remember the first verse, which gives the qualification of who is the Adhikari, rather who will be able to attune to this directly, and also the subject matter. Subject matter here is Atma Bodha. That must not be forgotten. So, Atma Bodha is directly telling us what the knowledge of self is, and to the extent that we become adhikari by gaining the qualifications, to that extent we'll be able to attune to this. So as and when you are feeling that this is too much, or why is he sort of repeating the same thing again, you always come back to this point, that we need to become adhikari to directly deal with this. See, there are some texts which are meant for our Shravana. Later it comes. There are three-fold method of gaining knowledge. It is given in the Upanishad. It is given in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. It is famously called as Shravana, Manana, and Nididhyasana. Shravana refers to listening. Manana refers to reflection. All this we will take in detail later, because it comes in Atma Bodha itself, it comes later. And Nididhyasana is with reference to contemplation, ultimately culminating in meditation. So it corresponds to three phases of ignorance. I don't know. Shravana. You listen, you read, then you get the knowledge. I know, but I don't understand. Manana. Reflection. Think about it. And then I know, I understand, I have no doubts now, but I am not able to experience. Nididhyasana. So it is through contemplation and meditation you experience. So the three phases of ignorance are given three sort of logical step-by-step solutions as to how you go deeper and deeper. There are various texts which are meant for Shravana. Upanishadic texts are meant for that you listen from the master what that self is all about. We are getting the basic idea of what it is. Then there are various texts authored by great masters like Shankaracharya and others who have written commentary on Upanishads, who are taking up questions and answers and various ways by which you can reflect. See, forget about even understanding the concepts of Vedanta at the theoretical level. You will not be even able to conceive the questions that they have asked. They themselves raise that question. Each and everything is thoroughly analyzed. Science, reason, logic, everything is given for you to be absolutely clear of what the knowledge is saying. Because from our limited experience, from our already gained knowledge, you will have doubts. And if you don't have doubts, then you are not in the process. You must generate questions. You must have doubts. So all that needs to be further clarified so that there is a internal clarity and there is no doubt as to what you are pursuing at all. And what you are pursuing, the credence of that is also well established by all this, arguments, debates and counter arguments like that it is. So various texts are there for Manana. Probably we should categorize Prakarana Granthas also in that sort of a category, because it is going into deeper explanations of that. So it is meant for more of contemplation. As much ever we try to explain also, more we explain, probably sometimes it loses its value. When I say loses its value, it is meant for your thought and your reflection more and more. So that is why these examples are given, certain points are given. Then it is up to you to do that self-study. There are very few texts probably which are directly for Nididhyasana. There is not for any more. Of course, as a text, if you take that and take it as a lecture, you can go deep into it, try to explain all. But that is not the purpose of the text. That purpose of the text is to just revel as you read the text, as it draws deeper into the contemplation. In other words, it is not phrases which gives meaning there. It is giving a picture, as it were. There is a fine line that is between the words that we see as sentences and the 3D picture that is going to emerge out of it. In other words, in and through these verses, that is the idea. The Atma that is hidden behind all these things should reveal itself. Certain texts are directly probably meant for that. We do not know much of anything, but through a lecture we heard that Ashtavakra Gita and all falls into that type of class. Now, here he says, okay, we can say this. Actions, when he says actions, represents all the spiritual practices that we are doing. All this is prescribed also in Vedas. Okay. Now, when the actions are prescribed in Vedas, and we are supposed to do it also, why is he saying that actions cannot take you to the self? Action cannot destroy ignorance. What is the reason? Yes, sir.
Action is meant to lead to knowledge.
Right.
Directly, action is like cutting the vegetable.
Yeah, correct. That is what the previous verse said. Now the question is why? Why does it not destroy the ignorance directly?
It's not opposed to.
Why it is not opposed to?
To work a different kind. Karma,
What is the difference in kind?
karma is of the world. Material.
Okay, karma is simply the action. It doesn't make good or bad. And from chemistry angle, you only acid can neutralize base, or base can neutralize acid. So if someone, anything, if polarity is negative, neutralize it means a positive polarity and equal level or equal intensity. In that context, it can be there.
It is not of equal intensity at all first.
All actions are desire-ridden. That may be the reason.
Right. All actions are desire ridden. Where does the desire come from?
Action is finite. What we are talking about is
Infinite. That is correct. The finite action cannot produce infinite, or that is correct. Action is coming from desire. Desire is coming from
Ignorance.
vasana, thought. Vasanas is ignorance. Vasanas is ignorance of the self. So the root of the action is ignorance. In other words, action is a furtherance of ignorance. So it is, ignorance is subtle, action is gross, you can say. But that is why in another term for vasana in Sanskrit is karma only. So when you say prarabdha karma, sanchita karma, all this is prarabdha vasana and sanchita vasana only. So action which is in the potential form, in the unmanifest form, is called as ignorance. It is vasana. And action, when it is manifest, it is called action. So we have to understand that in the equation given by Swamiji, or the formula is VTDA, that you remember. Vasanas, thoughts, desire and action. Vasana is the unmanifest. It comes as a thought in the intellect level. It comes as desire in the mind level. Then it comes as action in the body level. All this is nothing but furtherance of the same ignorance. So ignorance being further manifest action, that action cannot go and douse that ignorance again. And also, this action that we talk about as practices is gross compared to that which is subtle. Gross cannot influence or do anything to the subtle. So therefore, what is the antidote for ignorance? And what, as Sudhakar Kabra said, is action is finite. Finite cannot produce an infinite result. Infinite is already there. So that which is already there cannot be produced by something which is finite. What is the antidote for ignorance is knowledge. This has to be very clearly understood. When we are studying this verse, always remember that though the ultimate spiritual advice, highest advice given by stalwarts like Ramana Maharshi and others, who have all reached there, is finally they say, just be. Just be means just be. There's no action. What should I do? No, nothing. Just be there. Just be. Just being there is the ultimate thing, because that is what is the ultimate state also is. But from the state that we are, we have to refer to Krishna's advice in the 3rd chapter of Gita. He says, Nahi sanyasada deva siddhim samadhi gacchati. Nakarmana manaramban naishkarmyam purushanosnude. Naishkarmya, or the actionlessness, is the ultimate state. But that ultimate state of actionlessness cannot be attained if you merely stop the action at the physical level. This has to be carefully understood. So whenever they talk about naishkarmya or actionlessness, they mean that root only. The root is vasanalessness. So when they say actionlessness is the ultimate state, what they mean is, you go into the root, that which produces the action is desire. Therefore, desirelessness. That which produces desire is the thoughtlessness. And that which where the thoughts spring from is the vasana or the ignorance. Therefore, ignorance-lessness, if you have a term like that, or vasana-lessness. That is called as naishkarmya. Naishkarmya means a state of actionlessness. Now, that state cannot be attained because Arjuna, in that context of Gita, you will understand that he is wanting to run away from action. And it may be outwardly seem like a great sannyasa state from where he is going to gain knowledge and go, but that is not so as far as the adhikari of Arjuna is concerned. With him, where a lot of desires are there, where he is action-oriented person, he is a Kshatriya, and there is a good opportunity for him to execute the action the proper way. There, if you are going to restrain the action only at the level of the body, it will not work. Therefore, Krishna gives a first salvo during Karma Yoga that Nakarmana Manaramban Naishkarmyam Purushosnade. Not by stopping action that you are going to gain any actionlessness. Naja Sanyasa Deva Siddhi Mamati Gachadi. That by renouncing the action, you are not going to get Siddhi. Renouncing the action at the action level, it is not going to get. So therefore, what is the antidote for action is knowledge. So when in Vedanta treatise also, when he says that, we find that this cycle of cause and effect, so Swamiji says vasanas produce action and action produce vasanas, vasanas produce action, action produce vasanas, this cycle continues. Out of ignorance, the cycle continues. When this body is not good enough to perform the action, then it goes into the next body. Cycle continues again. As long as the vasanas are there, you are forced to do action because the potential of action is there. Now, here also we said that the gross action cannot produce a subtle vasana. But when you say that the action produces vasana, what it means is, action is not defined as a movement at the physical level which you do. Action is defined with the intensity of the intention backing the action with which you are performing the action. Therefore, if, for example, with the deep intention of negativity and hatred, whatever action you do, outwardly it may appear anything, or with egoism and selfishness or wanting power and position, whatever action you do, it may be action of taking this class also. That action per se does not produce the desired result. The desired result is in accordance with what is your desire, what is your intention. So when you say that, if you are able to, so for deep from the vasanas, if you go into that level, that intensity with which you perform that action, when you finish the action, you leave the residue for the continuance of the next action. So that is how we say that action produces the vasanas, and therefore that will again grow, mature, and again it will produce vasanas. This cycle keeps on continuing. Now when you perform selfless actions, you will be able to exhaust the vasanas. Again, the point here to be noted is, actions per se is not going to burn off the vasanas. Selfless action is talking about your thought being established in the Supreme Self, and you are doing the action at the body level. So what actually deals with the vasana there is your awareness. So knowledge alone is the antidote for ignorance. Even at the relative level, you think about it. We are not talking about absolute now. At the relative level also, you are doing some action. You are typing something. You are carrying something and going somewhere. Or you are cooking. All these are actions. As you are doing this action, somebody is switching on the TV where there is some spiritual discourse or something is going on. Let's say Atma Bodha itself is going on there. And you are interested in it. And a deep thought comes in that. For a moment, you are absorbed in that deep thought. Once you are absorbed in the deep thought, what happens?
Action stop.
Your action stops. You will not cook. For that, you will just stand and you will be able to listen. Here we are talking about just the absorption of knowledge. So in other words, even absorption of knowledge is in one direction, action is in the opposite direction. Action is oriented from you towards the world. Absorption is towards the self within. Therefore, action and knowledge are opposed to each other.
In absorption, time and space is not there.
That is in the absolute level. To the extent that you are absorbed, to that extent it stops. That is what it is. When your thought is arrested, that's what it means in total absorption. When we are talking about total absorption, your thought itself is absorbed into the self. Here we are talking about even at the relative level, when knowledge is taken, when there is absorption in that, we are talking about still the practice, not the absolute state. Even there it works, I am saying, just to prove the point that the direction of action and the direction of knowledge is different. Therefore, knowledge alone is the antidote for ignorance. That is why in the Vedas, where actions are prescribed in the beginning, lot of actions are prescribed, lot of method of doing yajna and various things are prescribed. Even performance of household duties, marriage and producing children, everything is prescribed. In the Upanishad, finally it says, na karmana, na prajaya. We studied in the Kaivalya also it comes. Na karmana, na prajaya. It is not through action, not through progeny that you are going to attain this. It is very interesting. Probably Vedas, and when I say including Vedanta, is the only scripture which sort of decries itself what it said before. So what is you are asked to do in the beginning, later you say that is not enough. What it means is, first you are encouraged to study the school and college. Then it is said that you don't keep on studying the school and college only. You have to rise to the level of PhD. So you have to sometime leave that school and college behind and rise up to that level. And that cannot be attained by what you did in the school. That's all it means. So you have to graduate yourself to the highest level. Another point in this verse is, the knowledge is instant. Knowledge alone destroys darkness as light destroys, knowledge alone destroys ignorance as light destroys deep darkness. Let us say a cave is in deep darkness for ages together. For ages together it is there, uninhabited, and it is deep, dense darkness. Now, if you want to drive away the darkness from the cave, you cannot do any method or any practice, like you cannot say with a broom I'll sweep away the darkness. All those will not work. Or with a sword I'll cut the darkness. It will not work. All that you need to do is that you need to light a candle inside. The darkness does not say that I have been here for millions of years, so you have to at least give me 100 years to go. It doesn't say. The moment the light comes, instantly it goes. So it really does not matter how deep your ignorance is, how long your ignorance is, how much janmas and all, we need not worry about that. You can take it as a very positive note here. The moment the first ray of knowledge comes, immediately the entire darkness is dispelled. So this is the greatness. So therefore, we need to only be in the mode of absorption of knowledge. The doubt may arise again in same Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3. Krishna is telling Arjuna to motivate him. Karmanaiva hi samsiddhim astita janakadayaha. Through karma alone, Janakadayaha means Janaka, etc. Starting from Janaka, various great people, Janaka, Shvapti, Ikshvaku, Rama, various stalwarts, all were in the world, in the society, doing actions. And Karmanaivahi Samsiddhim. Siddhim means perfection, Samsiddhim means absolute perfection. Karmanaivahi Samsiddhim Mastitha Janakadayaha. So he is motivating Arjuna, because Arjuna is moving away from action. From verses 4 to 19, or 4 to 20, he is giving a lot of reason and logic for action. Now he is emotionally appealing to Arjuna to act. So he is giving various emotions. Here he is invoking the emotion of his reverence. Devotion. His devotion is there for great people like Janaka. You admire Janaka, you admire great people like that. All of them attain perfection through action. Why don't you do action? This is an emotional appeal to Arjuna. Now, it has to be again understood as what is known as Arthavada, an exaggerated value that is given to glorify action in the context of what is required for the adhikari at that point of time. Through directly action, it is not God. That action prepares and purifies your mind, and through jnana, you are going to get it. But the major activity for such a person can be absolute selfless karma that he has been doing. Also, Brahman is referred to, the state of Brahman is referred to as avyavahara. Avyavahara means impractical, as it was. It has nothing to do with any vyavahara or any activity in the world at all. By itself, it has no action. By itself, it has no action. So that is why we said that it is a state of actionlessness. So that is why the ultimate advice that given is, if you want to reach that state of actionlessness, you have to be actionless. You have to be actionless. That is the ultimate thing. So therefore, what gives that perfection is the knowledge. Now the light that is being talked about in this verse, it does not get lit from outside. It is there within, shining by itself. This is further clarified in the next verse. Yeah.
Ignorance is anadi. Anadi means from time immemorial it is there. And knowledge is instantaneous. Immediately when the knowledge comes, it removes the ignorance. Now, Nayayika is there are some school of thought which says that this knowledge may be, if you are getting some knowledge which may not be a right knowledge, the wrong knowledge, let's say, some kind of Brahma, which they call it, that the wrong knowledge is given. Will that give sort of a shade or different colored light or what?
No. In the sense, the absolute knowledge cannot be in shades. It is instantaneous knowledge or realization of the self only. But I am not sure of what the arguments of Nayayikas and others is, because I don't know. But from what you said, it is not a wrong knowledge. We always say in Vedanta or in the spiritual path, we don't go from ignorance to knowledge, we go from knowledge to knowledge. Knowledge to knowledge in the sense, at a level that we are, from that level to make a paradigm shift to the next level, you have a higher level of awareness, then you are able to shift to that level. This is all but relative within the world only. From the point of view of your higher rung of the ladder, the lower rung is ignorance, and a higher rung above that is considered knowledge. So by this you go, this is again relative. So up to the level of meditation, that is why you say, by knowledge you drop the ignorance, drop the desire. As you go higher and higher in the state, lower and lower desires drop off. Till the point of single pointed thought, this cause and effect relationship can be taken. But the absolute knowledge of the self which dawns upon you, that is not confined to the realm of cause and effect. That is a different kind of knowledge. All other knowledges that you are talking about is different in degree. This is a different in kind altogether. So there is no, relative knowledge as far as the absolute knowledge of the self is concerned. It is either you are ignorant or you are enlightened. That's about it.
Say, for example, I'm studying scriptures, and for a certain concept, I've got some idea regarding confusion. It may not be the right idea, but I continue with that idea till such time I do not get the other idea or some such thing. Then in that case, I am still in ignorance.
Correct. You are still in ignorance. Here you are talking about the process of reflection by which the ideas gets crystallized in you. We are still in the process of manana. Now, all this idea itself comes to a level where you are having no doubt whatsoever. You are able to sort of visualize the self with the knowledge. That comes in the state of nididhyasana, and beyond that is the knowledge. So in this case, it is your depth in the understanding increases as you delve deeper and deeper. So how do you do that? By study, reflection, you are constantly revolving your thoughts around it. And in this process, what happens? You are slowly also cutting your thoughts away from the world. So that process of evolution slowly opens up your personality inside. That's how clarity comes to you inside.
So when we say that the knowledge reveals itself, then what is that revelation in this then?
In this, there is no revelation. In this also, what it means is that the clarity of the self which is there within, it's shining through the thoughts. It is shining through the mirror. When you polish that mirror more, it becomes brighter and brighter. That's about all. But still you are in the realm of the mirror only. But that ultimate thing is total absence of the mirror. Mirror is. Yes, sir.
Just to clarify about ignorance and knowledge, over here, first of all, we have defined that knowledge that we are, like the knowledge that we are pursuing and the ultimate knowledge, there is a difference between that, because this knowledge what we are pursuing is in sort of degrees. We are crossing our various levels of ignorance, but the knowledge that is being talked over here about is the ultimate knowledge. So there is it has to be kept in mind that there is a difference between these two knowledges.
See, again, what you said is not wrong. But the point is, this knowledge, when we say this knowledge vis-a-vis other knowledges of the world, when we study Atma Bodha, this is also giving us knowledge, right? Now, when you reflect upon it, when you go into the depth of this understanding, certain ideas about the self gets opened up. When we say opened up, it is not something like it is a eureka moment, like that it is. But it is again a sort of internal experiential realization. I am saying even relatively, wow, this is what it is. So your concept of God, your concept of, then with that your attitude towards the world, everything keeps on refining and changing as you go inside. So this knowledge, as you get, it gets deeper and deeper. It is still in the realm of the world, but it is taking you on the path towards gaining that ultimate knowledge. Okay, but till you get that realization, which is a waking up knowledge vis-a-vis all the experiential knowledges in the world, it's different in kind. This has to be understood vis-a-vis other knowledges.
It is different in kind, finally. But this knowledge is in form of, this knowledge what we are pursuing till the last, it is actually in degree.
It is.
It is in degree.
It is.
Now, I remember we discussing this in Tattva Bodha also, that the ignorance is not in degrees. Well, I'm not able to reconcile that, because if my knowledge is going in degrees, then how the ignorance is not in degrees, because at every level I am crossing some level of ignorance. No, sir?
No, see, the point is, when you say that knowledge is in degree, what we are talking about is the a awareness in a person who is at a very high state of evolution, vis-a-vis awareness of a person or an animal which is at a lower state. Okay, the awareness and the level of evolution, it's obviously different. It's very clear. In case of ignorance, when we are talking from the point of view of the self, all the jivas up to the level of the highest evolved soul who is short of realization, all are in the realm of ignorance only. So that ignorance expresses in this way or expresses in the other way. So ignorance is only ignorance.
Can we also say in that case that ignorance can also be related to just the way we are talking about knowledge, that knowledge is different than the knowledge what we are at the terrestrial level what we are pursuing, and that ignorance is also what we are talking about is different.
Then you are equating that absolute ignorance to absolute knowledge, which is not the case. Absolute knowledge is only the knowledge. All other things are in the realm of ignorance. So that is the catch there. Think about it. Even in the physics, you say light and darkness. Okay, the darkness that we perceive in the night when you go to the terrace and you are looking at the open sky, is it darkness or light?
Light.
It's light. As far as we are concerned, it's darkness. For a cat or owl, it can see something. Or some other animal can see some other thing, even if it is like what you consider as pitch dark. Point is, there is sun's rays, there is everything there getting reflected there. It is just that it is not visible for our eyes. So, it is a different level of light. For us, it's a different level of light. And for something else, it's a very great level of light. All these are different in various degrees of light. What is ignorance? Or what is darkness there? You cannot. Darkness is only one, which is the absence of light. So as far as the realm of the world is concerned, absence of the knowledge of the self which you consider yourself to be in, it is all in the realm of ignorance. That is why it is. Yes, sir.
Talk something about absorption. How to absorb. That is.
No, you have to study early in the morning and absorb. You have to think about it, mull about it, write your own points. Maybe with like-minded friends, if you get a chance, you have to discuss and debate in a positive way. All these are process of reflection. See, with a fair amount of even attending class or studying, it is not. You will understand that it is not a very what you call a rocket science to understand. When I say that, I am not demeaning this knowledge in any way. This knowledge directly pertains to us.
to each one of us. This is a direct knowledge talking about you, about me. So therefore, when we talk about thoughts, desire, and various other things which is there, we can experientially relate to it. Therefore, if you are able to relate to that experience, which is ultimately connecting to our happiness, because whether we study this or do any other thing, it is for our happiness. So what is going to enhance our happiness, that is what we are going to do. So in that absorption, what you are saying, how does the thought process or desire change itself? Because we understand it at the theoretical level, we say that it is not coming down to the practical level. Most people say this, it is very clearly understood at theory, but when it comes to practice, I'm still getting angry, or I'm still lazy, I'm still not able to get up and do exercise. Various things, how it manifests itself, they are complaining about it. And sometimes it goes to that pessimistic mode of self-loathing. And so, as far as Vedanta students are concerned, this sort of a phase everybody has to go through, because there will be always a time gap between how the knowledge gets transformed into wisdom. That is always there. But always keep to the knowledge. So therefore, now this class and all is not of use. I'll close this up and let me do selfless action. Then come back to this meditation. It won't work like that. This is not to stop your action. Actions you have to multifold do. Change your intention and do it in a better way. But always keep to that absorption of knowledge. Your study, your reflection, and you need not worry about when and how it is going to change. What is the date in which you are going to, go from a yogi to a sannyasi? All these things we need not worry about. It is going to automatically happen once the maturity overflows inside you. So all the absorption is about saturating your mind with this inspiring thoughts. So therefore, keep to that study and reflection always. First thing in the morning, we have to allot it for our own self-development. A text like this you can take, or I would say for beginners, even Vedanta treatise, or before that even Fall of Human Intellect, take it page by page, para by para, think about it, write your own notes, have doubts, discuss. This way you are courting the knowledge, you are living with the knowledge. That reflection process is what is going to change your thought process and attitude and other thing. Then in other words, it's not like a magic wand. At the same time, it is not a very tough and a boring process. It is the initial phase that we need to put through to get into the groove of it. Then you actually really start enjoying. Once you develop a taste for subjects like this, all other sensual enjoyment and other things for which we have already developed a taste, that taste pales in comparison with this taste. It is a question of getting that taste. Like similarly at the physical level, doing exercises or yoga or jogging, it's very tough in the beginning, but once you get used to it, so it is not the question of doing exercises to keep the body fit and healthy. You also must actually enjoy doing the exercises, enjoy doing it, and that will come. Unless otherwise the mind's participation with enjoyment it is there, it will not last long. How long can you force something to do? That force will work for a while, even though your intellect will say a mind will not cooperate. So therefore you need to do it with a passion, for which you have to develop that, and that passion I cannot put in you, you cannot put in me. You have to develop that passion by courting this in various angles, and whichever clicks, from there you have to go on as it is.
So if you are born, that means you have vasanas.
Yes.
And can knowledge directly burn the vasanas, or need to necessarily perform action to burn the vasanas?
Good question. Knowledge alone burns vasanas. Okay, let this be clear. There is no other purifier other than knowledge to burn the vasanas. Since you are already born with vasanas, and since certain vasanas are already fructified, that means they have come up to the level of manifestation that you are forced into the world. You are forced into the world means you are forced to act. As long as life is there, you will act. You will continue to act. Even your life is maintained by actions. You cannot, again, third chapter it says, you cannot remain inactive even for a split second. If you choose not to act, Swamiji gives this example. You lie down and you choose not to act at all. Come what may. No movement at all. What will happen? Okay, that is right. In the practical process, what happens?
Still breathing.
You are still breathing, but okay, breathing is there. You chose not to move at all. Okay, you are not chosen not to employ any organ of action, not speech,
not hands, not legs, not anything for that matter. You are just lying as it is. Next step, what will happen? Ant will come. Mosquito will come. Okay. When the ant and mosquito comes, you at least for warding away that, your hands will automatically come. Even then you choose not to do. You keep quiet. You be still. This ant will call all other ants then. It will finally carry you away just as it will carry you a dead body. So it is not possible for a man to remain inactive even for a split second. This potential of action, which is all the product of our past actions, which is pushing us into action, which will force us into action. Now, therefore, with the knowledge, if you are able to understand as to with what attitude and with what intention you do the action, you will not produce further causes for action. I cannot go to the past and change. It is fait accompli. But in the present, if I am able to do action in such a way that the existing stock of fuel gets exhausted, but I am not adding any fresh fuel for the future, then it will slowly exhaust. Just as the car will slowly come to a halt. That will happen. That happens by the absorption of knowledge. So, in this context, which is not the relevance of this verse, but I am saying, prarabdha vasanas are those vasanas with which you are born, for which the fruition has already taken place. That means, even a jnani, his body has to go through that motion. You have to go through that motion, irrespective of whether you are whoever you are, whatever you are born till death. What will get automatically exhausted by experience is your prarabdha vasana. You cannot strictly say this is prarabdha and this is sanchita, but by and large, the structure that you are born, your major aspect of your inclination, swadharma, whatever it is, all those things you will naturally go through. It is like a force which will go through. This is prarabdha. Now, in this prarabdha vasana, we are not talking about exhaustion here because already fruition has taken place. So, there is no question of dealing with it as it is. You just go through it. If it is good, enjoy it. If it is bad, suffer it. But in both the cases, a jnani will see it as a shadow that is going as long as he is absorbed in the knowledge. That is where the other vasana comes, which is sanchita vasana. Sanchita vasana is the totality, which is not yet gained fruition. That sanchita vasana or that sanchita karma can be absolutely exhausted by knowledge, and only by knowledge. What is that knowledge? Thought of the self. By encouraging that thought more and more, I wanted to say this 2 verses later because there is direct relevance of that. By encouraging that thought more and more, when you strengthen that, when you configurate that fire more and more, the ungerminated seed burns at that level itself. There is no fruition in the future. It gets destroyed there. So what destroys the ignorance? What destroys these vasanas? What destroys all the other aspects which is there? The direct relation to that can be only knowledge, nothing else. Even as I don't want to open up another thing here, but there is a Gita verse where Swamiji's interpretation, I do not know in the commentary, but when you see the e-learning in the class and all, it comes that exhaustion of vasana by action and exhaustion of vasana by knowledge, both are dealt with. But principally it is not wrong, but there is a slight, a detour and an explanation there. But you can take it as a theorem that knowledge alone kills vasanas. Knowledge alone destroys vasanas.
So, when we say cause and effect, what if you put some seed, that is a cause, effect is likely to come. You cannot just ignore it. Sanchita is the total accumulation of all these causes that you have put there. How does those causes go away by knowledge? That's what we say that Sanchita is wiped out. If we do knowledge or selfless action here in this world right now, in selfless action you can, how does that?
No, not selfless action. It is by knowledge that you wipe out the sanchita. And when the entire sanchita is wiped out, it is realization. The knowledge is thought of the self. So they are in the seed form, but it has not yet come to the level of where it will germinate, it will mature. So at that level itself, it can be destroyed. And this capacity or this choice is given only for a human being. Action cannot destroy ignorance as it is not opposed to ignorance.
knowledge alone destroys ignorance as light destroys deep darkness. We'll chant verse 4.
परिच्छिन्न इवाज्ञानात् तन्नाशे सति केवलः स्वयं प्रकाशते ह्यात्मा मेघाकारेषुमानिव.
Atman, self, seems limited because of ignorance. When ignorance is destroyed, verily Atman alone shines by itself like the sun when the cloud passes. You can write down and count the number of examples. Now 2, 3, 4 has some examples. Later in, I think, topic number 6 or so, there will be direct statements without examples to some extent. Otherwise, most of the verses, again in 31 to 36, when he is talking about assertion and negation, probably little less examples. Otherwise, almost every verse has an example. It's a beautiful example. Atman alone shines by itself like the sun when the cloud passes. So in the previous verse, we said that knowledge alone destroys ignorance. This knowledge, this verse, it reiterates that this knowledge shines by itself, and it is not something which is lit from outside, it is there shining by itself from within. For every other thing to be recognized, we need the help of a light. Okay? In a dark room that you go, what is it that, how will you know? How will you understand? Only if a light is focused upon it, will you understand what is there. Or take the ultimate thing that sun is there, because of which only everything else is visible to us in the world. So nothing is visible, or nothing is, it's not possible to see anything without the grace of sun, without the help of sun. But if somebody were to ask, I agree sir, but how do we see the sun? You say that no, sun does not need any other source of light to illumine. Sun is self-illumining. Sun is self-illumining. In this example, you can extend actually this example to, understand this concept a little further. The cloud, the size of the cloud is how much compared to the sun? Actually nothing. Cloud is nothing compared to the huge mammoth sun that is there. But cloud seems to cover the entire sun. Okay. Therefore, in ignorance, a child may think that cloud is bigger than the sun, which is not the case. As you grow, you know that science also says sun is appearing small only because of the distance. It is very powerful, it is very heavy, and in the context you take sun to be infinite and cloud to be finite. But this finite cloud seems to cover the infinite sun. You can take even the eyelid example. The eyelid is so small. This eyelid covers the entire world. How can you say that the eyelid is bigger than the world? But then how does the eyelid cover the world then?
So eyes actually cover our eyes, not the world.
It covers the eyes. And by it covering the eyes, we are not able to see the world. It is very, very minute and small. Because it is very close to us. It's very, very close to us. That coverage seems to be full. The cloud relatively is very close to us. So it covers us completely, but the sun is very far off. As of now, that is what it is. We are so caught up in the cloud of ignorance that it is close to us, that this ignorance seems to completely cover us. If that cloud passes away, the already existing sun is going to shine forth as it is. Exactly like that, our ego, our desires and all other things, which is the manifestation of the ignorance, seem to cover us so powerfully, and we see no way that sun can be seen at all. It is darkness. It is absolutely pitch darkness.
But only if you have objective view, you will understand what is the magnitude of Atman and what is the magnitude of all this body, mind, intellect, all the equipments and all the egocentric desires. Whatever you want, you put it all together. It is infinitesimally small. Nothing actually. It is nothing. But it seems very, very big only because it is so close to us that we don't see beyond our nose every time. So our ego and egocentric desires appears so big. This is one angle. Another point of contemplation for you in this verse is, in the example of sun and cloud, how are you able to see the cloud?
Because of the sun.
Because of the sun only. See, in the night, again, relative points of example must be taken to in that context only. In the night, you don't see a cloud. It's pitch darkness. In the day also, when it is covered by the cloud, but you are able to identify that this is the cloud and you are able to see the cloud, because beyond the cloud there is something which is actually illumining the cloud. In that which illumines, you conveniently forget and you conveniently brush it off and you are caught up only in the cloud. Exactly like that, that which illumines our body, mind and intellect, that which illumines our gross, subtle and causal body, that illuminating power is that Atma. With that power, you are able to identify this. But based on this identification, you reject that. That is the point here. And what you can study about this verse and come for the next class is Parichinna Iva. Parichinna Iva means, Iva always means as if, like. Parichinna means limited, in compartments, in broken, as if. So, how does an individual understand self to be compartmentalized as it were? That's what this verse is explaining, which we'll take it up in the next class.
Poornam Adah Poornamidam Poornat Poornamudachyate Poornasya Poornamadaya Poornamevavashishyate